Let the House please be in order. Stand as we are led in prayer this afternoon. The gentleman from Lee, Representative Thompson, will introduce our guest minister. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today, I have a very special guest, excited guest, Pastor Christopher Traylor. He's the pastor of Little Zion Church, Baptist Church in Garland, Mississippi. And he also is the moderator of the Spring Hill District, where he oversees 40 churches. Pastor Chris Traylor, let's give him a hand as he comes today.
Thank you. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this day, because this is the day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad. Now we pray right now that you will bless the house today. Bless each individual from their head to their feet. And we give you glory and we give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a dynamic preacher from North Mississippi. Let's give him another hand. Attention, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stand at attention. Hey, if y'all could give Prince Brothers night. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could get your attention, I recognize the Chairman of Military Affairs, the gentleman from Tishomingo. He's got further introduction regarding our guest on the podium this afternoon. Gentlemen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If everyone will point their attention to the podium up there where the preacher's at. The fellow with the standing there, raise your hand, Scott. Scott is a 100% disabled veteran. He lost a leg in training exercise during Desert Storm. Scott represents 7 Days for the Troops. It's an organization that fights for veterans every day, just like himself. He was 91-94 United States Marine Corps, honorably discharged, 100% disabled vet. Thank you, Scott, for your service, sir.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
We will have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin, Representative Powell, moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Report of select committees.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of standing committees.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the introductions.
Is there objection to this? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, we will follow that procedure. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of guests and visitors. Gentleman from Bolivar, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that all my colleagues, if you will, let's look toward the South Gallery and help me make welcome one of my very own, Ms. Hannah Aguzzi, my Executive Director of the Cleveland Bolivar Chamber of Commerce, Summer Lovett, Director of Business Development in the Cleveland Bolivar Chamber of Commerce, and Mr. Robert Maxwell, Chamber Board President. Let's help make them welcome, please.
Gentleman from Benton, Mr. Massengill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, the South Gallery, we have the Mississippi Road Builders Executive Development Program participants. We got Ben, Eric, Jonathan, James, Jeremy, Ryan, Zachary, and Justin, and Mike Pepper sitting up there with them. Make them welcome.
Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Fondren.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A couple introductions today. Right above me in the South Gallery, I have Miss Amy St. Pay, Goshen City Court Judge and candidate for Court of Appeals. And I also have with us some of the CASA family, Miss Frances Alsop, the CASA Director, Mr. Doug Adams, who's the Board President, and the group of directors. And they might not have made it in yet because it's a packed house today, but we're happy to have them here.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman from Madison, Mr. McMillan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, please help me make welcome. It is in Gluckstadt. It is our Firefighter Appreciation Week. So I've got our chief of the fire, Mr. Henry Davis, and I've got two division chiefs, Dustin Perry and Nick Rushton, and also Bill Weisenberger's up there in our South Gallery. Help make them welcome up here.
Welcome to all of you. I believe that our Chairman of Rules has a special guest to recognize. You'll give your attention to Chairman of Rules.
First, Mr. Speaker, can I call up H.R. number 35 and H.R.
You got a report, gentlemen?
Yep.
I'll ask Madam Clerk to read a report from Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Report of Committee on Rules, H.R. 35, Mississippi Trio Day at the State Capitol, declare February 21, 2024 as for observance, title sufficient do be adopted. H.R. 36, Recovery Davy 2024 at the Mississippi State Capitol, observe on February 22, 2024, title sufficient do be adopted.
You recognize, gentlemen.
I'd like to call up H.R. number 35 and H.R. number 36 in block.
Is there objection to this? I don't see any, gentlemen. You move adoption?
Yes.
Gentleman moves adoption of these two resolutions. If you favor the adoptions, the resolutions indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions are adopted. Anything further, gentlemen?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will direct your attention to the North Gallery, we have Representative Foster, who will be presenting a resolution to the members of TRIO. TRIO is a group that helps disadvantaged students succeed. So let's give them a round of applause.
Congratulations, and thank y'all for being here today. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
That's all.
We will go to the calendar. Motion to reconsider calendar. General calendar. Public health. Passes. Transportation. Judd B. Apportionment and elections. Gentleman from Covington, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Call up item number 6, House Bill 1121. Make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that you recognize the lady from Hines, Ms. Butler Washington.
Lady from Hines is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1121, this bill amends sections 7-1 and 25.113 to make minor non-substantive changes to conform the changes that were made last year to House Bill number 1276. Last year in House Bill 1276, the legislature passed a bill to create a runoff procedure for the governor and statewide elected officials, and to clean up the additional sections that abolish the requirement of a popular vote and electoral vote for the governor. This bill is just 2 more code sections that need to be amended to further remove the language that references the requirement of an electoral vote and a popular vote. That concludes the summation for House Bill number 1121.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, will the lady yield?
Yes, I'll yield.
By the way, you look fabulous up there today.
Thank you very much.
Now, you worked in the Senate for a while, right?
I did.
And now you're a member of the House.
I am.
And I know this is a little off topic, but isn't it just so much better over here?
Oh, it's so much better. It's just wonderful over here.
People are smarter.
They are.
And it's more exciting.
They are.
That's right. All right. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Do I have to yield?
Young lady, do you yield?
Yes, I yield.
We talked about this bill yesterday, am I correct?
We did.
Did you not tell me that there were some underlying issues in this bill?
No, I did not say it was some underlying
Can you
issues
tell
in
me
the bill.
what are we changing in this bill?
We are changing in this bill. Would you like for me to read it?
No. Just tell me what you think you're changing in this bill.
We're changing in the bill where the House of Representatives will determine who the governor will be or the state elected official will be.
Can you tell
statewide.
Can you tell me how smart this body was to what method we used to change?
You asked 2 questions in one. How smart was this body? And what method did you all use?
I did.
Well, I think at the time when you all made the decision to change the bill based on the legislature at that time, it may have been a great decision for the state and their constituents.
What was the method? If I flip a coin, would you tell me?
Wait a minute. Oh, we changed it with the House concurrent resolution.
Thank you, lady. Good
You're
job.
welcome.
Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness.
You know it's a coin flip.
I have an introduction at the proper time, Mr. Speaker.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I have an introduction at the proper time.
I'll get right to you. All right. I don't see any further questions on the bill. You move final passage, lady?
Yes, I move final
Lady moves
passage.
final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. It's not letting me vote. By a vote of 120 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Chairman of Business and Commerce, the gentleman from Rankin is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 7, pass that item, and have it retain its place on the calendar.
Thank you, gentlemen. While you go to your next item, I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness, for an introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, please make welcome in the South Gallery a constituent of mine, Mrs. Durana Chambliss.
All right, gentlemen, next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 8, House Bill 1105, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the 3rd time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You recognize, gentlemen, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill removes the prohibition on using the words partnership and limited partnership when providing a name for a limited liability corporation. Back when I was here before in 2011, we enacted state law that prohibited using words within a limited liability company's names. For instance, you couldn't call yourself a bank or an insurance company or partnership. But fast forward to 2024, in places like Delaware, where a lot of businesses are incorporated and registered, where it's a model for corporate law, they have no specific prohibitions on what the names can be. And we're trying to welcome these businesses as our companies purchase these out-of-state companies and merge And so we've had instances where a company out of state who's called XYZ Partners can't keep their name because there's a prohibition in using the word partner, partnership in an LLC. This bill is very specific. It simply removes the words partnership and limited partnership from the statute. So if someone buys XYZ Partners, they can easily transfer the name XYZ Partners when incorporated here. This is just to keep up with the times, make sure our statutes are inviting to do business here. They still have to say they're XYZ Partners Limited Liability Company. And since the law was first enacted, it's been even easier to check the legal incorporation of a business entity. You can do it from your phone on the Secretary of State's website. Mr. Speaker, that is my explanation of the bill. I move final passage if there are no questions.
There are no questions, gentlemen. Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Vote me yes. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 120 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to that item number 9, House Bill number 313, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Several years ago, there
Gentlemen,
was
I believe you've got a committee sub.
I have a committee sub I'd like to adopt in lieu of the original bill.
Gentlemen, move to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Several years ago, there was a peer report that recommended the merging of the cosmetology and the barber boards, and there was much weeping and gnashing of teeth. But over the years, the two boards have gotten together, have hammered out a compromise, and it is this bill which gives both the cosmetology board and the barber board 3 voting members, along with the state health officer as the 7th member of the board. There were lots and lots of changes in the merger in order to make the two boards consistent with one another regarding requirements and fees and fines and all those sorts of things. But in short, this is a merger that's been agreed upon by both sides, and I'll be glad to yield for questions, and if there are no questions, I'd move final passage.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen. Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
Business and Commerce yields the floor.
Gentleman from Marshall, Mr. Faulkner, for what purpose?
Introduction, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, please help me make welcome the wife of my desk mate, Representative Ricky Thompson, Ms. Sheila Thompson. Make her feel welcome.
He wouldn't let her come down here, gentlemen? Or she didn't want to come down here? Welcome, lady. Gentleman from Lafayette, Mr. DeWeese.
Introduction out of order, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and the junior gentleman from Lafayette, I see the group from CASA is added up here, and Ms. Maggie Tannehill and Aaron Smith are here. Please make them welcome at the Capitol.
Welcome. Lady from Hines, Ms. Butler Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make an introduction. Some of them may be gone. Some of the students from Hines Community College here in the North Gallery from the Utica campus with the TRIO Student Support Services. We have Dr. Damian Thomas, who is the Executive Director of TRIO, and some of his team members are Ms. Pamela Williams, Ms. Kamisha Williams, Ms. Nicole Davis, and Ms. Jackie Briggs. Let's make them welcome.
All right, Chairman of Agriculture, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 10, House Bill 1304, call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Speaker, I'd like to yield to the gentleman from Lincoln to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Lincoln is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 1304 is an act to amend Section 69-123 of the Mississippi Code. It requires the Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce to adopt rules and regulations to provide for the grading by an official inspector of any grain submitted for sale at any elevator or grain dealer by a grain producer. Now, what we've run into, the farmers over the years, during high damage years where they have a lot of rainfall during the growing season, farmers have complained that there's discrepancies in the grades that they receive from the private elevators from graders on staff. Currently, the federal law requires someone at the facility to be a federally licensed grader, and then allows others to work under them as an apprentice. There is no federal or state sanctioned training required for these workers. This legislation would allow the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce to establish a state level training course that those working would be required to go through. Our farmers feel it's important for both the elevators and farmers of Mississippi to have a state certified grader in every elevator who has undergone some type of training. Arkansas and Louisiana have already implemented this in law. The Mid-South Grain Association has already begun the process of training graders. And if any additional cost, there's no cost in this bill, but should there be a cost arise, the Mississippi Soybean Promotion Board would cover that cost. This bill would add some level of confidence, consistency, and transparency to the grading process that the farmers receive. That's an explanation of the bill. I yield for questions.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 122 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 11, House Bill 1284, call it up, make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to yield to the gentleman from Pearl River to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Pearl River is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1284 is the Mississippi Foreign Land Ownership Act. As many of you may recall, last session we created a committee to study adversarial foreign nations owning land in the state of Mississippi. This bill is the product of that committee's work. So what the bill does is it prohibits the amount of land, interest in land that a foreign adversarial non-resident alien can hold in the state of Mississippi. That definition, as far as adversary is concerned, comes from the list that is maintained by the Department of Commerce. That's the Federal Department of Commerce. It permits a non-resident alien to obtain the property by way of inheritance or descent and distribution. However, they have 2 years to dispose of their majority interest in the property. So they're still able to have a minority interest in the property, but they are not allowed to have a majority interest in agricultural land in the state of Mississippi. The bill charges the Mississippi Secretary of State and the Attorney General with enforcement. There are penalties. First offense is $100,000 to $250,000. A second offense is $250,000 to $750,000, and a third and subsequent offense is between $500,000 and $5 million. It does allow the AG's office to institute a civil forfeiture action on that property. Section 5 requires that real estate brokers and realtors who engages with clients or prospective buyer or seller of a possessory interest in forest or agricultural land, it requires those realtors to disclose to the client the requirements and limitations of this act. It does, however, absolve realtors of any type of liability, along with attorneys, title insurers, mortgage lenders, notary publics, et cetera, et cetera. That list is complete in Section 6. That is a short explanation of this bill, and I would be happy to yield for any questions, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Hill.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. There have been several corporations that have or have a diverse board or directors and stuff. How does that impact, and they've been doing some work in agriculture, how does that impact those businesses?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this question this way. What happens if a corporation has several different members on its board of directors and one or two of them come from those countries? How does that impact them doing business in this state?
Just based on the members on the board?
Yes.
It doesn't apply. It's got to apply to only individuals owning the property or the corporation itself. So the corporation's principal place of business, if it's in one of these adversarial countries, they're prohibited. But as far as the way you make up the board, that is not considered. It's whether or not the corporation or business is incorporated in a adversarial country and it comes from that country. At that point, they're prohibited from owning the land.
So if the president was from one of those adversarial companies and the treasurer was from a considered ally country of ours and the secretary was from another one, they formed this corporation, but the president has 51% of that corporation, but it is housed in ally country. How does that, I'm trying to figure out, in case they try to get around this, how does that work? That's why I'm asking the question.
He has to have, the president from the adversarial country has to have 50% or less than 50% ownership interest in the property. So if he comes in with 51% ownership interest in the company and they try to acquire that property, he's got to ditch 2% to get below that threshold in order to avoid being penalized under this bill.
Okay, thank you.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Gentlemen, I'm sure you'll yield to me, please.
Yes, sir.
Just for my information on this bill, I understand what you're trying to do. I support what you're trying to do. However, how long is this prohibition against forestry and agriculture? If somebody buys it, some land, for, let's say a mega site, they decide we're not going to do it, they decide to go into forestry. How long does that last? Is it forever?
Forever.
Forever. I want to be sure of that. And then what it says prohibit acquisition, whether it did acquire, what would be the action whoever would take if a foreign corporation would buy some agricultural forestry land in Mississippi? What's the remedy?
The Attorney General files a civil forfeiture action.
Okay.
To bring the property out of that individual's hands.
Okay, they would file, and who would get the property? It would go back to the state or to the previous owner, or?
It would go back. It would go into the hands of the state if they don't voluntarily dispose of it in some other way.
I just want to know, and I appreciate your answer.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Gentleman yield.
Is the whole row going to ask questions today?
Smartest row in the house.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'll yield.
Anyway, this bill, you know, people have done a lot of title work. I think the statute, actually, some of the work they've done they've probably done it in conflict with the existing statute. This retroactive? Will they go back and straighten up some of that?
That's a good question. Council advises that it is retroactive.
So there's going to be a lot of people in a little trouble with their land.
That is possible.
All right, thank you.
Don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
I move for final passage, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 98 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Municipalities passes. Forestry passes. Does any chairman have an item they wish to take up? Let me see who's next. Hold on. Let's get in order. All right. Chairman of County Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 14 on today's calendar, House Bill 1149. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Gentlemen, I see you've got an amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Jones, Secretary of our committee, to present the bill and the amendment.
All right, you want to adopt the amendment first, the committee amendment first, or you want to explain it and adopt it at the end and then the bill? How do you want to do it?
Let's go ahead and adopt this amendment. It's a misspelling of a word, and
Gentleman, he moves adoption of a committee amendment number 1. If you favor, I believe that is the bill. Is that correct? If you favor that amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment's adopted. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen, as amended.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill amends sections 19.725, sections 19.25.65, and section 19.731. So the previous bills before the amendments are in required the Board of Supervisors to maintain legal books in the courthouse. I think a few years ago the House passed or amended the bills such that the Board of Supervisors could also, in addition to the books, have electronic books as well. This bill amends those to allow the Board of Supervisors to have electronic statutory and laws, Mississippi laws, the code and everything, electronically in lieu of the books. The burden is on the supervisors to do this. The cost comes from the payment, comes from the supervisors. The second statute charges the sheriff with the duty to maintain this. The last statute that's involved here allows the supervisors at their discretion to move that to a public library. And anyway, each one of those is amended to allow the supervisors to go only and solely electronic if they wish. That's the explanation, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Oktibbeha, Mr. Taylor.
Gentleman, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
Is this your first time at the well?
Yes, sir.
I was asking because I'm on the committee with you, and so I heard the bill earlier, and I know that this bill has cost savings in mind, somewhere around $20,000 per what?
My understanding is that the one county that has implemented this, I think the House approved this last year or two, and for that, through local and private, for that particular county, and my understanding is that it has saved them about $20,000.
About $20,000. And so to store these things or to have some type of electronic library, is there a particular software involved?
Well, I guess it can be, if they want to store it and have backups, it would depend on how they do it. Now, I assume that most of them would get subscriptions to LexisNexis, Westlaw, and make that available to everyone, you know.
If we're trying to, if we're trying to save money by taking information and racing it and putting it, would Etch-a-Sketch be better?
I'm not familiar with that.
You're not familiar
Oh,
with
Etch-a-Sketch.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Gentlemen, question for information, please. I understand what you're trying to do here, of course, and we're going to maintain the information electronically versus a physical book. However, what access is a person going to have to get to it if they don't have a computer to get to it? If I have inmates in the jail, because it says the sheriff's department and to the county, so what access are we requiring is going to be there for the person to actually get that electronic information?
Yeah, well, it would be on computers in the courthouse or in the library if they moved it to a public library.
Okay.
Just like you go to a public library now and you get online to do that.
Right, but what guarantee we have that they're going to have more than one computer to access this?
Well, I don't know that they will, but I guess there's no guarantee they have more than one set of books.
Well, I just think about one person trying to use it and he has it tied up all day, and here comes somebody else been waiting to use it all day also.
Yeah. Well, if you go to if you were to go to do a title opinion in the Chancery Clerk's office, they have 3 or 4 computers that can be used simultaneously.
Yeah, they do. I just hope everybody would follow that example.
Oh, me too.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Gentleman from Lamar, Mr. Tubb.
Does the gentleman yield?
Reluctantly.
Sir, I have 2 quick questions on this. And so what we're doing is going to put electronic law books there. Are we going to be able to download this on Kindle?
I don't know. I guess that'd be up to the supervisor, but I doubt it.
And my second question is, do you trust, it sounds like you got a good bill, do you trust the author of this bill?
Yes, the author of this bill is a good man, and he's the spirit of it is in a good way.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Gentleman from Grenada, Mr. Horan, for a question.
Gentleman, yield.
Yes, sir.
I got a couple of questions. Now, does this apply to all counties in the state? You're from Jones County, correct?
Correct.
And are y'all allowing this in Jones County? You're from the Free State of Jones, correct? Is there a paragraph in here that it says it specifically applies to Jones County, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Are you sure y'all going to allow this to happen down there?
No, I'm not sure they're going to allow it to happen. It will be up to the supervisors.
Well, I mean, I want to make sure, a little history in this chamber about Jones County, and I want to make sure if I go to Jones County, if I've got a case down there, and I need to run into the library, do y'all have a public library in Jones County?
Well, we have a law library in the courthouse.
Do you have a public library if I can't get in the law library?
Yes, sir. There's a public library.
And is the law library in both courthouses in Jones County?
Yes.
So, I'm going to have access in Jones County regardless of from what part of the state I'm in. I'm not going to be excluded. I'm not going to have to show a Jones County residence card or anything in the Free State of Jones. I'm going to be okay to go in Jones County and look at and access Lexis and Westlaw, correct?
I think you'll be safe.
You think I'll be safe? I'm going to hold you to that, gentlemen. The second thing is I want to ask you just a little bit of, this is a serious question. Is anything in this legislation authorizes fee-based access to the members of the bar in the county?
I'm sorry, ask that again.
Is there access to this database or through the law library? If I wanted to give up my Lexis or Westlaw account in my office, could I sign on to the county and pay a fee, or is this public access?
No, it would be public access if they do it just like the books that they use now.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, can I sit in my office and access this through from my office to the county library?
I don't know the answer to that, but I doubt it.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, does this bill come out of county affairs?
Yes, sir.
And this bill is going to start talking about the state public libraries, and is that right?
I'm sorry, state public library?
Are you talking about putting legal research items into the public libraries of the state of Mississippi?
No, what I'm telling you is the last section that's involved here allows the supervisors to move that law library within a reasonable distance of the courthouse to a public library.
Have these supervisors or your committee, have they consulted with the chairman of libraries and the Mississippi House of Representatives about this?
No, sir.
Is the gentleman from Clay been asked about this bill? He's chairman of libraries in the House.
Not to my knowledge.
Well, I'm going to have to hear how the gentleman from Clay feels about this bill before I can vote for it.
While you get with him, gentlemen, we're going to have a few more questions. Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, you?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a physical note on how much it would cost for the new jump drives that each county is going to have to give to their citizens?
I do not.
So we're putting an unfunded mandate on counties to buy jump drives so
No,
citizens can have.
we're not putting a mandate on anybody.
So you just said they have to get rid of the books, and so one of the ways that we get rid of the books is put information on jump drives. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I agree that you could do that if you want to, but I did not say that they're getting rid of the books.
So how do people gonna have the information to get the copies that they need when they come to do the research if the book's not in the building?
If they go that route, I assume they will be able to purchase something electronically. If it's on jump drives or CDs or hard drives or whatever, I'm assuming that it would be, like I said, LexisNexis, Westlaw, Case Law, one of those entities that provide.
So what are we going to reimburse the counties for extra paper that the people are going to use to make the copies since the book's not in the building anymore?
No, sir.
So my president, my board of supervisors going to be calling me about a ream of paper?
Not due to this bill, he's not.
Gentlemen, wouldn't you agree with me that you probably need to table this bill?
No, sir.
Do you know what table means, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm trying to help you, gentlemen, with this piece of legislation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Gentleman from Smith, Mr. Tullis, for a question.
Gentlemen, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that basically we're computerizing all the law books, the statute, so on and so forth. And there was a concern brought up about individuals accessing this data. And over the summer, there was a text sent out from the other gentleman from Jones where there were several people in Jones County having trouble accessing pornography in Jones County. And so we know that Jones County, just to resolve any issues with the gentleman that had a problem with this, we can be assured that people in Jones County can access this data, correct?
Yes, it will be available to the public.
All right, thank you.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to maintain hard copies of these this information simultaneously because everybody is not computer literate. In my understanding, that nearly 50% of Mississippians are not illiterate. So I'm just saying, who's going to help the people with this?
Well, I think I know what you're asking. I guess if the supervisors chose to use something that would require backups, hard copies. You're talking about hard copies of the books?
Well, yeah, the hard copies of the books, are they going to be maintained as well because everybody's not computer literate?
No, sir. If they choose to go electronic, it's all electronic. They're not required. They can, but they're not required to.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, I don't see any further questions.
Move for final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 118 yeas, 0 nays, bill passes. Chairman of Forestry is asking for unanimous consent to go back one item to his, I believe they've got their amendment ready now. Is there objection to going back to the Chairman of Forestry?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up House Bill number 299. That's usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read a third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Everybody's wanting to go to the 20th, 21st century on this electronic bidding, and the Mississippi Forestry Commission is no different. All this is doing is amplifying the way for them to do electronic filing, electronic bidding through timber sales in the state of Mississippi. That's the gist of the bill. If you have any questions, I'd like to answer.
Questions on the bill? Don't see any, gentlemen. I'm sorry.
All right, I do have one amendment. That would like
You have an amendment,
to be made to
gentlemen?
this bill.
Has the clerk got your amendment? You want it? Are you going to explain it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, I'll explain it. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, as the chairman indicated, this bill would allow for the Mississippi Forestry Commission to accept electronic bids. My amendment simply says that your county boards of education would be advertised on the lands that they manage for 16th section land, timber, that they would be allowed to advertise electronically for those bids also. It's not a mandate. They can still do it in the papers and everything else, but it would allow them to do this electronically. Hopefully they'll get more and better bids that way, and it's just moving into the 21st century, and that's what this amendment does.
Questions on the amendment? Don't see any. If you favor the adoption of amendment number 1, indicate saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment's adopted. Anything further on the bill? Gentleman from Marion?
No, sir, no.
He moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 120 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. I believe Chairman of Wildlife is up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up House Bill 1298. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I'd like to call up the committee sub in lieu of the original bill, please.
Gentleman moves that we adopt committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. If you favor that, indicate by saying aye. If you're opposed, no. Gentlemen, you're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing to you today the Mississippi Wild Turkey Stamp Bill. We have in Mississippi been so blessed with a very aggressive wild turkey population, and what we want to do is provide a dedicated funding for the conservation of a much cherished species. This is a concept we've been working on since 2017 through the Wild Turkey Federation, through the Wildlife Commission. We've been endorsed by literally every outdoor organization. I have been overwhelmed with phone calls from sportsmen and sports organizations throughout the state, and we're tasked with the responsibility to preserve this resource. What this is, Mississippi's highly regarded as a turkey hunting destination. We have historically strong populations, liberal hunting frameworks, and frankly, pretty popular homegrown turkey personalities. So we've become very popular. We have about $140 million in wild turkey economy in the state. So what we've determined is that we propose to come up with a, much like our waterfowl permit, our waterfowl stamp, we want a wild turkey stamp that will be executed in the same manner. It'll be an electronic stamp. It'll be a fee of $10 for residents. Out of state will be $100. It'll be executed in the same manner. Electronic. If you want a physical stamp, it'll be executed in the same manner. You can get a physical stamp for an additional fee. This money will be used for habitat enhancement on public and private lands. It will be to complement whatever cash we have to match grants for existing projects, such as the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund, National Turkey Federation grants, to help us with our research, to understand the wild turkey ecology. You know, as I've talked to people all over the country about their wild turkey, for instance, Kansas, that had such an aggressive turkey population just a few short years ago, really have no idea why they have a diminished population now, because they have put no money in research. And so we're not going to let that happen in the state. We're going to realize where we're at, and we're going to put resource into it. And so that's what this bill will do. We're going to take $10 fee from residents, and we're going to put it in a fund that will be monitored, controlled, and audited by this body. And we'll use it for habitat, predator control.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Give the gentleman your attention. Let's have order. Continue, gentlemen.
Thank you. Do I have your attention? Wonderful. So, you know, we've had a turkey electronic harvest reporting since 2021, and it's worked pretty well for us to recognize where our turkey populations are doing. So this is just another step in that puzzle. So I will entertain any questions if there are any.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield?
Of course.
Will those stamps come in half pint liters or half a gallons?
Cases if you need them.
Gentleman from Clark, Mr. Smith.
Gentleman, you yield?
Absolutely.
This is just a stamp. It has nothing to do with like tagging or nothing like that. You buy this stamp.
This is a stamp bill, not a tagging bill. Just a stamp bill.
Thank you, sir.
Gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Newman.
Is there any provision in there that out-of-state people may have to pay more?
Well, absolutely, as it should be. Residents pay $10, out-of-state participants pay $100.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney.
Gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I'm not a hunter, so help me out.
You could have fooled me.
Do what now?
You could have fooled me.
Okay, well, I'm not a hunter. So the stamp, is it when you go, you get a turkey license or just a sportsman's license, go turkey hunting. So do you buy, is there a limit? I don't know. Is there one turkey per day, or how does that work?
There's 3 turkey per calendar year, but what this bill will do will require you to buy a one-time turkey stamp for the year. So
Okay.
you can buy a sportsman's license, you'll need that for a hunting license. Then you'll buy a turkey stamp.
So you can get 3 turkeys for one stamp?
Right.
Thank you.
It's a bargain.
I'm serious, I didn't know that.
Gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, will you yield?
Absolutely.
Would you be willing to allow me to have an amendment to have the gentleman from Gulfport's picture from Thanksgiving put on the first turkey stamp?
No, sir, I will not.
Well, thank you.
Move final passage.
That would probably kill the bill if you did that, gentleman from Rankin. Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 100 yeas, 12 nays, the bill passes. All right, I believe we will go to that House Calendar Supplement 1 on the general calendar and recognize the chairman of accountability, efficiency, and transparency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Go to item number 1 and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that the gentleman from Hines handle the bill.
Gentleman from Hines is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is House Bill 628. It's to extend the date of the repealer on the statute granting persons the right to inspect public records under the Mississippi Public Record Act. Currently, this act is set to expire July 1st of 2024. This will extend it to July 1st, 2027, and that is an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason we have a repealer on the Public Records Act?
I'm not aware of the reason.
So would you be opposed to just removing the repealer altogether?
I would not.
So why didn't we do that?
Not sure.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 121 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood, for what purpose?
Introduction, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen in the House, on behalf of the delegation from Oktibbeha County, my good friend Ms. Jada Johnson is in the North Gallery along with the MSU Social Work Program. Please help make them welcome.
Welcome to you all. Good to have you here today. Gentleman from Warren, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 2 on the calendar and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like the lady from DeSoto to handle the bill.
Lady from DeSoto is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to present House Bill 653. This bill amends Section 25341 to extend the expiration date of the moratorium of the Trip Optimizer type system to the state agencies from June 30th, 2024 to June 30th, 2027. This is an explanation of the bill. If there is no questions, my motion is to move for final passage.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Newton, Mr. Rushing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the lady yield?
I do.
Over here.
Ah, okay.
Lady, I vaguely remember us passing this system. Can you explain exactly what this Trip Optimizer system does for our, I think if I recall, it was for our state employees. Could you elaborate a little on what this bill does?
Sure. So the Trip Optimizer was put in place to save the state money. I can tell you a little bit more if you would like me to. Okay. So the Trip Optimizer system was originally passed into law in 2017. It was the House Bill passage of number 938. And the moratorium started in 2022 with the passage of House Bill 1101. There's been no changes since 2022. And in theory, the Trip Optimizer system is good. The purpose is to save the state money. It only applies to the state employees who receive the federal reimbursement rate for travel in their private vehicle. So if you'll see subsection 1 of the section, the current federal reimbursement rate is 67 cents per mile. So, by the way, the Trip Optimizer system is supposed to work if you are an employee of a state agency only and you are going to be traveling more than 100 miles away. That employee would use the Trip Optimizer system to determine if it would be cheaper to drive and be reimbursed at the federal reimbursement rate or get a rental car. And the employee would be required to choose the cheaper rate.
Thank you, lady. That was an awesome explanation. I appreciate your doing
You're
that.
very welcome.
I don't see any further questions, lady.
Move for final passage.
Lady moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas, 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 3 on the calendar and take up the committee substitute.
Gentlemen, Madam Clerk tells me we don't have that committee sub. It's noted as a committee sub on the calendar. Was there a committee sub? She's loading it into the system, and the chairman informs me that the only thing the committee does from the original bill that may be on your computer is it makes it effective upon passage. He's going to explain the rest of the bill, I believe, if there's no objection to us proceeding. Gentleman has made the usual motion. He calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Gentleman's got a committee sub that he's asked for us to adopt for consideration in lieu of the original bill. If you're in favor of that, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Gentlemen, you're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, all this bill does is we're extending the exemption from the Public Records Act to public bodies to help us honor our non-disclosure agreements when we're working on economic development projects across the state. That's my explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen. You move final passage?
Final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 1 nay, the bill passes. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. I'd ask for immediate release.
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will do that, gentlemen. All right. Announcements from the clerk's office.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you did not have your composite photo taken, the retake will be February 28th from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock. February 28th. Lady from Jones. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At 3 o'clock today, Interstate Cooperation will meet at room 103. Public Health will have a joint hearing today at 3 o'clock or immediately after adjournment in room 113. Constitution will meet after adjournment in room 114. Banking will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in room 402. For tomorrow, Business and Commerce will meet at 9 in room 114. Education will meet at 10 in room 204. Judd B will meet at 11 in room 113. Transportation will meet at 11 in room 204. Apportionment and elections will meet at 1:15 in 401A. State Affairs will meet after adjournment tomorrow in room 402. Corrections will meet 10 minutes after adjournment tomorrow in 401A. Conservation and Water Resources will meet 10 minutes after adjournment tomorrow in room 402.
Announcements by the members. Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As many of you know, on January 29th, a U.S. military installation in Jordan was attacked and we lost 3 service members. Today, one of those service members, Sergeant Brianna Moffitt, she's being laid to rest in Bay Springs, Mississippi. I believe it's appropriate if the House would join me in recognizing a moment of silence for her, and if the Speaker would lead us in prayer for her and her family.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll have a moment of silence, and then I will conclude us with prayer. Lord, we come to you in prayer this afternoon, and we thank you for all the gifts you bestow upon us each day. We thank you for the blessings we enjoy. We thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy in this country and in this state, Lord, where we can worship freely, we can raise our families freely. We are free with all the choices that we have as Americans, and we thank you for those. And for that, it takes folks like the ones mentioned today and the ultimate sacrifices that they make in service. Lord, we thank you for them. We thank you for their lives of service. And we lift them up and their families, the ultimate sacrifice that they make. Let us always be mindful of that. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen. All right, further introductions. Lady from Pearl River, Ms. Hopgood Wilkes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to remind everyone that the Mississippi Recovery Advocacy Project will be in the Capitol tomorrow, so please stop by their tables and see their information to help people with mental health and substance abuse.
Gentleman from Benton, Mr. Massengill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Transportation will not meet tomorrow.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
To our distinguished clerk, Mr. Kitchens, when we have a supplemental calendar for those of us that still get paper bills, could we get copies of the bills when those calendars come out, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir, gentlemen. You're saying copies of the bills or copies of the supplemental calendar? Copy of the actual bill.
Supplement, but I didn't have the bills and I didn't have my computer, so that's all I'm at. Request. Thank you.
Yes, sir, gentlemen. Thank you. Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Request, Mr. Speaker. On yesterday's calendar, item number 12, House Bill 1089, I need to change my vote from yes to not voting.
There's a lot of objection out there, gentlemen from Choctaw. I don't think I hear a real objection. I think we'll allow this one from yea to not voting. But while I've got his attention, the chair's got a question of the gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines, because several of you members have inquired of the chair as to what the strange object is that is covering his microphone. So if he would like to enlighten the body as to what's going on over there.
It was a gift.
We'll leave it at that, gentlemen. Gentleman from Jones, Mr. Scoggin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As many of you probably have already heard this morning, on Highway 84 west of Laurel, close to the Jones and Covington County line, there was a very heavy area of fog, and there was accident involved 21 cars, and I think probably somewhere around 25 people injured. And so I don't think there were any fatalities. But anyway, tonight or in the morning, just think about those people in your prayers.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman from Oktibbeha, Mr. Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to remind the Education Committee that we do have a meeting at 10 a.m. in the morning. Mississippi Department of Education will be speaking, and we will be taking up a few bills to go ahead and get them out on our calendar as well.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman from Bolivar, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those of you that you look on your desk, there's a brochure there from the Grammy Museum in Bolivar County, and if you don't want those tickets that's inside, give them to someone that can use them. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, I don't see any further announcements. I'll recognize the gentleman from Rankin for the motion.
I move that the House stand adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Gentleman's motion is the House stand adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. If you favor that motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House is adjourned till 2 p.m. tomorrow.